When my father passed, it was by far the most painful loss I've experienced. Everyone has that one person you love that has passed on, and that pain is so difficult for people to move on from. I would beg God nonstop, God, please, I want to be able to be there for my father when he passes. My wife called me, said, Jim, I think this is it. Yeah, he couldn't speak, it was over. They were saying, put him in a home. I said, yeah, it's not gonna go. And so we agreed on hospice, and I said, I'm gonna bring him to my house. I wanna be there, period. He was in a coma state, and I'll never forget, it was about 2.5, 3 days, and he kept hanging around and hanging around. He said, today's the day, probably tomorrow. And I didn't shower in a couple days, and then my beard started growing in. And my nephew came over and some family, like, Uncle Jim, we deal with everything with humor. My nephew's like, oh my God, Uncle Jim, you smell horrifying. And he's talking to my father, going, Grandpa, I know you can't leave because this smell is keeping you awake. And so I finally agreed to leave my dad and take a shower. And I whispered in his ear, don't even think about trying to sneak out of here while I'm gone. I know you. I remember being about 10, 11 years old, and I'd see him having a drink, and he's drinking the coffee, and his hands were shaking. I said, Dad, why are your hands shaking? And I remember my mom going, his nerves are shot. And he's like, I was in the war, the war. And again, you don't really comprehend that. I grew up on this one street in Long Island our whole lives, and then my parents moved to Florida. I was really mad at them. It took me off the street. That's all I've ever known. And yeah, I'd go out and get banged up nonstop. And I came home just train wrecked. I'm trying to be sneaky. I had frozen White Castle burgers that I'm taking out. I'm hitting the microwave. Beep, 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 beep. You're staring at that stare like, oh yeah, isn't it be great? And I took out my ketchup and a barbecue sauce, and I'm just beating the snot at a White Castle cheeseburgers at 3 in the morning. And all of a sudden, in front of me, I see my father perk up, and he goes, shh. I walked around the kitchen and go in front of him, and I'm like, Dad, it's me. You want a burger? He was awake, but he wasn't. He wasn't looking at me, he was looking right through me, and he was somewhere else. And I said, Dad, what are you doing? You're freaking me out. He was freaking me out. A, because I was wasted, and B, it's the middle of the night, and he's going, I said, Dad, what are you doing? And he goes, they're just land crabs. I said, what? They're just land crabs. And then he went back to sleep. I'm like, whoa, my God, what just happened? I later found out when he was in the Philippines, a lot of his crew, platoon, whatever you want to call it, got wiped out, and they were waiting for the Marines to come and save them. But the whole island was overrun by the Japanese, and at nighttime, someone had to stand on guard for the few people that left. And in the Philippines, you have the mangroves or whatever they got, and it's close to the water. So at nighttime, if you just hear a land crab, you don't know if that's someone sneaking up with you on a rifle. So if you shoot and it's not the enemy, you just gave up your position. If you don't shoot and it is the enemy, you're gonna get everyone killed. And then I saw pictures of him. He's like 19, 20, 21. To be a kid, grew up in Dayton, Kentucky, 10 brothers and sisters. He talked about eating turtles and possum. And to go from that to now you make it as one of the only kids that made it through school, and now you get sent to a war. And then he came home And they're like, okay, I know you guys, your friends got killed and everyone got killed, but hey, go have some babies and, put the flag out. We won, hey! As I get older, to understand what this man went through, and he never took that out on me, and he never took that out on anyone around him. I see him as one of the most noble human beings in my lifetime, not just because he was my father, just a powerful human being. And he was always there, and so I wanted to be there for him. Now comes time, I gotta go take a shower. I said, Dad, don't even think about leaving. You're not leaving. Don't try to sneak out while I'm away. I went upstairs and I showered so quick. And in the middle of that, my daughter was banging on the door. Dad, Grandpa opened his eyes. Now, most people will get excited and think that's some type of miracle, but I also was warned this is usually what happens right before it's over. So I go running downstairs and I see he's coming in for the final stretch and his eyes are open, but I hop on, I cradle him, and I literally went, you sneaky, you're so sneaky. I told you you're not going alone. I got you as a soldier of life, I got you. It's funny and not funny. The last breath was, and then when I tell you, you've never experienced a cry I mean, it's primal. It came from a place I didn't even know existed. It was like, and then all of a sudden he took another breath. So it was like he was out for 10 seconds, then he was gone. Like, he went, oh my God, it scared the life out of me. And he did this 2 more times until it was finally over. And then, you have this primal, loss inside you. Like, wow, this really went down. I remember it was October after he passed. The fall was coming, some of the leaves were changing, and I was asking God, is there any way I can, what happens when we're gone? I don't need to see, I don't need the answers. I don't want to question you, but am I gonna feel him again? All of a sudden, I started hearing a tap on a window in the next room. In the dining room, it's this cardinal, and he's in the bush. He's looking at me, and he looks straight out. Now, you start thinking you're crazy because I'm going, what? Dad, is this you? I don't know anything about birds. And so I kept walking away, and every time I walk away, the bird would fly into the window. He wasn't smashing into it. He'd go up to it, and then he'd go back into the bush. What is this? Am I crazy? I remember a couple minutes later, my family came home, so I just had my eyes are swollen, and I don't want to tell anyone that I think the spirit of my dad showed up, or some spirit. I didn't want to, who do you tell? So I kind of let it go, but now, this is where this goes into another level. My bedroom was above the room where my dad passed. The next morning, I'm hearing banging, and I thought someone was at the door. So I looked out the window, and I went down there, and now in a smaller bush outside my dad's window is this cardinal. And the cardinal is going against the window and then going back, and I'm like, all right, this is, all right, mate, whatever. But now this cardinal goes from there, then he goes to the laundry room, and then back to the room where I first saw him. And this is happening every single day. And now it's becoming a little bit of a joke. Like my kids would go, hey, Grandpa, it's the weekend. We don't have school. Do you have to start tapping the window at 7 a.m.? We had this, a friend from Florida. He specifically said, my friend Danny, he's like, listen, I know you think this is your father, but you gotta kill him. You gotta kill him again because I'm on vacation and he's tapping on the window. So it became like a little bit of a joke, but this cardinal was every single day. It wasn't once in a while. So it started in the fall, and then it went throughout the whole winter, went through the entire next summer, all the way back to October. So it's been a year straight, every single day. There's people that do think you're crazy. And I remember my father-in-law, this thing is, he's gonna break his nose pecking on the window. I said, what's weird is I was like talking to God, and he's like, it has nothing to do with God. It's a male bird, and they're very territorial, and he sees his reflection, and he's trying to attack the other male. That's all it is. There's no such thing as God or spirits or anything like that. Which, it does make sense. That I know what I felt, and I know deep down inside what this is. I just don't know what it truly is, if that makes sense. A year and a half later, so October goes through another October, all the way to March. We went on a trip to Turks and Caicos. There was a lot going on. It was good to get away. It's like I lost my dad and my sister. There was a lot going on. We had a beautiful villa. I mean, you're overlooking this stunning scenery, and we had this patio, and I had one of the worst meltdowns I ever had missing my father. It was bad. I was in the middle crying, and I went, I'm not doing this anymore. I go, Dad, I am so sorry. You can go. I'm sorry, I need to grow up. I need to move on. This is what happens in life. And whenever I think of you, I'm gonna laugh. I'm not gonna cry anymore. I'm gonna laugh. Seriously, go. I promise you I'm gonna be okay, I promise. And I had my moment. That was the beginning of letting him go. Vacation's over on my life. You can't even make this up. We land, we come pulling into the house, and everyone's jumping out of the car, and we're back home, we're tan, this one's sunburnt. And as we go up the stairs, my father-in-law is there. First thing he says to me, he goes, hey, that bird is gone. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, that cardinal, I don't know, I noticed in the middle of the week, it just, I didn't hear it, and I didn't recognize it, so I stayed all day, and then came back next day, yeah, it's gone. I remember just feeling, wow. And I just sat down on my stairs, and I had a smile on my face, and I actually started giggling like, and he said, what? And I went, you don't understand. You don't understand. I let my dad go this week. I said, I let my dad go right in the middle of the week. And he goes, oh, for crying out loud, it's a bird. He migrated. And I laughed really hard because I understood I don't need him to understand, nor do I need anyone to understand. I know what it was, what it is, and what it will always be. On my life, that bird never came back. We didn't have any cardinals tapping on windows or any other bird tapping on a window ever again. What is that? What is that?